Look into a modern tofu factory, and you'll see high-tech machines working hard to produce tofu for everyone to enjoy. But despite all the shiny equipment, the basic way tofu is made has stayed the same for centuries. Let's take a look at how this versatile food is being made in the factory step by step. Tofu is a soft and mild food made from soybeans. It is an important source of protein in meals from China, Japan, Korea, and Southeast Asia. Tofu is thought to have originated in China about 2,000 years ago. It is quite easily made and only requires a few ingredients: soy milk, water, and a coagulant to help it keep its shape. While small tofu makers use about 150 pounds of soybeans at a time, big factories can make about 3.5 tons of tofu every day, using 5.7 tons of soybeans. Regardless of the scale, the basic steps for making tofu remain the same. To start, the soybeans need to be soaked. This is an essential step because soaking helps soften the beans, making them easier to grind. Depending on the temperature, soaking can take quite a bit of time. If you're soaking at cooler temperatures, around 22 degrees Celsius or 71 degrees Fahrenheit, it usually takes about 9 to 10 hours. If the soaking is done at higher temperatures, around 32 degrees Celsius or 89 degrees Fahrenheit, the time can be reduced to about 4 to 6 hours. If the beans are ground before soaking, the soaking time can be reduced even more. Sometimes the soybeans' tough outer skins, or hulls, are removed before grinding. This is done with special machines called dehullers, which use soft rubber rollers to peel off the hulls. Removing these hulls improves the color of the tofu and helps reduce the beany flavor that some people find unappealing. Once the soybeans are soaked, they are ground into a thick slurry. The grinding can be done using various types of machines, such as micro cutters or hammer mills. The finer you grind the soybeans, the more protein you can extract, which leads to a better yield of tofu. After grinding, the slurry is cooked. This step is crucial because cooking it at temperatures between 100 degrees Celsius and 110 degrees Celsius, or 212 to 230 degrees Fahrenheit, for about 3 to 10 minutes helps change the soy protein and removes any remaining beany flavors. This cooking process ensures that the tofu has a smooth texture and tastes great. Next, it's time to separate the soy milk from the leftover solid soy pulp, called okara. This separation can be done through methods like centrifugation, which spins the mixture, or filtration, which strains the solids. Depending on the method used, the soy milk can sometimes be separated before heating. Sometimes, producers concentrate the soy milk before the next step, called coagulation. Concentrating the soy milk means removing some water, which can improve the final texture of the tofu. This can be done through various processes, including heating, reverse osmosis, vacuum evaporation, or nanofiltration. The goal is to adjust the soy milk to have between 10% and 22% solid content, as this greatly affects the texture of the final tofu. The step of coagulating the soy milk is where the magic happens in tofu production. This is when the proteins and oils in the soy milk come together to form tofu. Different coagulants, such as salts, acids, or enzymes, create various types of tofu. Each type of coagulant contributes its unique touch, making this step crucial for the final product. If you're enjoying this video so far, let's take a quick break here so you can hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Now let's continue from where we left off. When adding coagulants, they are usually mixed into the soy milk at concentrations ranging from 1.5 to 5.0 grams per kilogram. The soy milk is gently stirred while heated to a temperature between 60 degrees Celsius and 90 degrees Celsius, or 140 to 194 degrees Fahrenheit. Interestingly, stirring the milk for the first 5 seconds helps improve the yield of tofu, ensuring you get the most out of your ingredients. The two most popular salt coagulants are calcium sulfate, or gypsum, and a blend of magnesium chloride with calcium chloride, known as nigari. Calcium sulfate is a time-tested coagulant that has been used for centuries. It's a favorite among tofu makers because it allows the natural flavors of the soybeans to shine through. This means you can enjoy the delicate taste and aroma that quality soybeans provide. Nigari, on the other hand, is often derived from seawater. It dissolves more easily than calcium sulfate, which helps create a smoother texture in the tofu. Making nigari involves removing sodium chloride and evaporating water from seawater to produce a white powder. Depending on how it's made, nigari might also contain small amounts of other minerals, like magnesium sulfate or potassium chloride. However, this variability can make it a bit tricky for large-scale tofu production. In addition to salts, edible acids can turn soy milk into tofu. The most commonly used acid is gluconic delta-lactone, or GDL. This coagulant is especially favored for making silken or soft tofu because it works quickly. GDL allows tofu to sit inside its packaging without creating air gaps, which prevents it from breaking during transport. Other acids like acetic acid and citric acid can also be used, but they often leave behind unwanted flavors, making them less popular choices. Enzymes are another option for coagulation. Enzymes like papain, an enzyme found in the latex of raw papaya, can help link the amino acids in the proteins, contributing to the final texture of the tofu. Several other factors can affect how well the coagulation process works. For instance, adding natural oils to the mixture before coagulation can help create a creamier texture. The mixing these oils into the soy milk also matters. Using a high-shear mixer helps achieve a better emulsion. Furthermore, the type of soybeans used can influence coagulation. Tofu made from soybeans with a high ratio of specific protein subunits can achieve a firmer texture, even with lower amounts of coagulant. In contrast, soybeans with lower ratios require more coagulants to achieve the same level of firmness. After coagulation, the curds form and are ready to be pressed. In the past, tofu curds were pressed by hand using simple devices like lever presses. Modern production often employs hydraulic presses or centrifuges to squeeze out excess liquid, also known as whey. For firmer varieties like standard and extra firm tofu, the curds are pressed using cheesecloth or muslin, with the amount of pressure applied depending on how firm the final tofu needs to be. Soft and silken tofu, however, don't require pressing. These types are typically made directly in their final packaging, a convenient method that helps retain their delicate texture. Water is added to some types of tofu to create a smooth, custard-like texture. Pasteurization is frequently applied to help extend the shelf life of tofu. This process heats the tofu to kill any bacteria, ensuring it stays fresh longer. Another method called ultra-high temperature or UHT processing can also be used. This technique involves heating the tofu to a very high temperature and packaging it to keep it sterile, making it even more shelf-stable. Once all of this is done, the tofu is ready to be packaged in blocks or tubs. These containers are shrink-wrapped, weighed, sealed, and labeled with a date marking the final step in tofu production. Now let's take a quick view at its origin. As I mentioned earlier, tofu originated in China, where it's believed to have been created by Lu An, a prince from the Han Dynasty, around the 2nd century BC. In the 1960s, the Japanese Food Research Institute pushed for better and more consistent tofu production across Japan, which led to important advancements in how tofu is made. In the United States, tofu has been available since the early 1900s, and today the U.S. tofu market is booming. It is estimated to be worth about $421.29 million in 2024 and is expected to grow around $749.15 million by 2029. That's a growth rate of 12.20% each year during this period. Even though the United States is one of the largest soybean producers in the world, tofu hasn't yet become a staple food here as it has in other countries. Back in 2014, tofu sales reached $274 million in the U.S., mainly because people enjoy it as an ethnic food or as a high-protein option instead of meat and cheese. Recent research focuses on better using the leftovers from tofu production. These leftovers, known as okara, are filled with healthy proteins and fats that taste good and have health benefits. Scientists are figuring out ways to keep wet okara fresh for longer and exploring fun and creative ways to use it in different foods. Sprouted tofu is also gaining popularity. This special type of tofu is made from soybeans that have started to sprout. The result is a tofu with a milder flavor and a lovely aroma. As more people are looking for sustainable protein sources, tofu is becoming a go-to option. It's versatile, nutritious, and ready for new ideas and innovations. What surprised you the most about the tofu making process? Share your thoughts with us in the comments below.